The space station was alive with light and sound. Strange voices echoed through the wide halls, voices of many alien races speaking languages Ethan had never heard before. Neon signs glowed in colors that seemed impossible, shapes twisted and moving as if alive. The air smelled strange, like sweet metal and burning flowers. Ethan, a lone human traveler, walked carefully through the crowd, feeling like a single drop of water lost in a stormy sea. Humans were rare here. Most aliens only looked at him for a moment, then turned away, but some whispered in low tones. He could not understand their words, but he could feel the weight of their stares. He pulled his jacket tighter, trying to hide the nervousness that grew inside his chest. Ethan was trained for this. Back on Earth, they had taught him rules for survival. Do not eat or drink unknown things. Do not trust too quickly. Always observe first. Yet here, surrounded by thousands of alien lives, those rules felt both safe and lonely. He reached a wide market square inside the station. Stalls floated in the air, spinning slowly, while alien vendors shouted in their voices, selling glowing fruits, living insects in crystal jars, and liquids that shimmered like starlight. Ethan paused, staring in awe. This was not Earth anymore, this was the galaxy. Strange, terrifying, and beautiful. As he looked around, something caught his attention. A pair of golden eyes, bright and curious, were watching him from across the square. The eyes belonged to a young alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, shining faintly under the station lights, and her hair moved as if underwater, strands glowing softly. She wore simple clothes, but the way she held herself made her stand out among the crowd. She was not afraid of him. She was interested. Slowly, she walked toward him. The crowd seemed to notice, for whispers began to spread, and some aliens stopped to watch. Ethan felt his heartbeat quicken. Why was everyone looking? Why was she walking straight to him? The girl stopped just in front of him. In her hands, she carried something glowing. It looked like a fruit, shaped like a crystal, tear glowing with soft golden light. The scent that came from it was sweet, like honey mixed with spices. She smiled, showing teeth that looked almost human, and then she spoke in clear galactic common, the one language Ethan understood. It tastes like Aurelian Midia. You've never tried one, human? The sound of her words was soft, but in the silence that followed, they rang across the square like a bell. Every alien nearby stopped moving. Eyes turned to Ethan. The market grew quiet. The human traveler was being offered something special, something important. Ethan froze. His mind raced. He had heard the name before, Aurelian Midia. It was a fruit only grown on distant worlds, a delicacy said to carry memory and feeling within its taste. It was not something sold easily, and never offered to strangers. For her to give it to him meant something deep. He remembered his training. Do not eat unknown alien food. What if it was poison? What if human biology could not handle it? What if it killed him? But refusing could also be dangerous. In alien cultures, food was often more than food. It was friendship, respect, even a sacred bond. To say no might insult her or even her people. Ethan's throat went dry. He looked around. The aliens were still watching, waiting for his response. The key. Girl tilted her head, still smiling. Her golden eyes full of curiosity. She held the glowing fruit a little closer to him. Her voice was gentle, but there was a hint of surprise, almost challenge in her words. You really never tried one before? All my people love it. Even children eat it. Why not you? Ethan's heart pounded. He could almost hear his commander's voice from training. Stay alive. Be careful. Trust slowly. But he could also feel the eyes of the crowd pressing on him, and the warmth of the alien girl's smile, waiting for him to answer. A battle began inside him, between fear and trust, between survival and connection. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His hand trembled as he thought of reaching for the fruit. The scent of it grew stronger, pulling him in like a dream. The alien girl's smile did not fade, but her eyes narrowed slightly as if testing him. The entire crowd leaned closer, their voices silent but their curiosity heavy. Ethan realized this was not just about food. This was about what it meant to be human in a galaxy of strangers. This was the first step in trust, or the first step into danger. And as the golden fruit glowed brighter in her hands, Ethan whispered in his heart, "What do I do now?" The golden fruit still glowed in the alien girl's hands, and Ethan could feel every eye in the market pressing on him. His breath was uneven, his palms damp with nervous sweat. He didn't move. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of the station's engines. The girl, Leora, that was her name, though Ethan did not know it yet, did not step back. She stood tall, her blue skin shimmering softly, her hair flowing like silver smoke in the station lights. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with curiosity. "This is Aurelian Midia," she said again, her tone slower, as if teaching a child. "We share it with friends. To us, it means trust. It means respect. I offer this to you, human." Her words were simple, but they carried weight. Around her, the crowd whispered in low tones. Ethan did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. This was no ordinary offer. This was a test. Ethan's chest tightened. His training echoed in his mind like thunder. Do not eat alien food. Do not take unknown risks. But here was a girl, calm, curious, waiting, asking him to step past his fear. He tried to smile, but it came out weak. "Thank you, but I don't think I can." Leora's smile faltered, her golden eyes flashing with surprise. The crowd stirred. Some aliens gasped softly, others shook their heads. The whispers grew louder now, sharper, almost angry. Leora tilted her head. "You refuse? Why?" Her tone was not cruel, but sharp, demanding. To her, this was not a small thing. It was as if Ethan had just spit on a gift. Ethan swallowed hard, searching for the right words. "Humans, we are careful with food. What is safe for you might not be safe for me. My body is different. I cannot risk it." He thought his words would explain, but instead the crowd murmured even louder. He could feel their judgment, their disappointment. To them, he was not careful. He was ungrateful. Leora stepped closer, holding the glowing fruit right in front of his face. The sweet, sharp smell filled his lungs, and for a moment, he almost felt dizzy. "It is safe," she said firmly. "Even younglings eat it. It carries no poison. We eat it every day. Why would you fear something so small?" Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to tell her that humans were not like other species, that back on Earth, one wrong berry could kill. That caution had kept his people alive for thousands of years. But how could he explain all of that in this crowded place, in front of strangers who already thought him arrogant? He shook his head. I'm sorry. I can't." The crowd hissed softly, a sound like wind through broken glass. Leora's eyes darkened. She pulled the fruit back slowly, her expression no longer curious but cold. "So it is true," she said, her voice low. "Humans think they are above others. Too proud to share, too proud to trust." Ethan felt his stomach twist. That wasn't true. He wanted to shout it, but the words stuck in his throat. He wasn't proud. He was afraid. Afraid of dying, afraid of being poisoned, afraid of making a mistake that would cost him his life. The silence grew heavier. The aliens around him glared, their whispers sharp like knives. He was alone, one human against a sea of disapproval, and yet, deep inside, he knew this moment mattered. If he stepped back now, if he walked away, then every alien here would remember, the human who refused a simple gift. Every door would close to him. His mission, his chance to understand the galaxy, would end before it began. But if he accepted, if he reached for that glowing fruit, he could prove that humans were not just fearful creatures hiding behind rules. He could prove they were brave enough to take risks even in the face of the unknown. Ethan's heart pounded like a drum. His hands trembled. His mind screamed at him to stay safe. But another voice whispered, soft and defiant. What if trust is worth the risk? He looked at Leora again. Her face was unreadable now, but her eyes were not cruel. They were waiting, testing, searching. The golden fruit shone between them, small yet powerful, like a bridge waiting to be crossed. Ethan took a slow breath. His decision hung in the air. The silence stretched long after Ethan's words. I can't. The human's refusal echoed in the market square like a dropped stone sinking into water. At first, there was only quiet. Then slowly, the crowd's reaction grew. Aliens muttered, in their strange tongues, some shaking their heads, others pulling back as though Ethan carried an invisible stain. The market no longer felt alive and bright. It felt heavy, like a storm about to break. Leora stood still, the glowing fruit cradled in her palms. The warmth that had shone in her golden eyes now dimmed, her lips pressed into a thin line, her expression unreadable. But Ethan could feel it, the disappointment. The shift in the air was sharp, like ice. Finally she spoke, her voice low but clear enough for all to hear. So the stories are true. Humans do not trust, humans do not share, they only take and they give nothing. The words pierced Ethan deeper than he expected. He opened his mouth to answer, but the murmurs of the crowd grew louder, drowning his voice. The whispers had changed tone, no longer curiosity, but judgment. Ethan's hands clenched at his sides. His chest ached with shame, but also with fear. He wanted to explain himself, but how could he? How could he make them understand that his refusal wasn't pride but survival? He raised his voice, trying to fight against the tide. It's not that, I'm not ungrateful, His words caught. His voice cracked. I just don't know if it's safe for me. The market grew quieter again, but not softer. All eyes remained locked on him. Leora tilted her head, her expression colder now. Safe? Even our children eat Aurelian Midia. Do you think we would offer poison to a guest? Or is your fear so great that you see danger in a gift? Her words stung. Ethan's heart pounded. On Earth, he began, his voice trembling, there are plants, berries, fruits that look beautiful, but one bite can kill. My people learned to be careful. Caution kept us alive. Some in the crowd frowned, some whispered again, but few seemed convinced. To them, his explanation was not wisdom, it was insult. Leora's eyes narrowed. So humans live in fear. That is your way? Ethan's throat burned. He wanted to shout, to tell her she was wrong, that humans were brave, that humans fought, survived, and endured things even the strongest alien might not. But the words twisted inside him. Instead, he whispered, almost too softly, it's not fear, it's survival. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Doubt, maybe even sympathy, but it was gone as quickly as it came. She turned slightly, showing the fruit to the crowd. Look, she called, her voice rising. Here is the human who fears even a gift. He says it is survival. I say it is pride. The crowd stirred again, restless. Some laughed, others shook, their heads. Ethan felt smaller than ever, standing in the middle of so many who judged him. His chest tightened, shame mixing with anger. He wanted to leave, to turn his back and escape the eyes that weighed on him like chains. But something deep inside whispered that leaving would mean more than walking away from a fruit. It would mean walking away from respect. Ethan looked at Leora again. She was beautiful in a way he could not explain. Her eyes sharp, her posture strong, her voice filled with the weight of her people. And now she was against him, not with him. The glowing fruit still pulsed softly in her hands. It seemed alive, breathing. To her people, it was not just food. It was trust, friendship, honor. And to refuse it meant breaking all of those things. Ethan's hands shook. He hated himself for hesitating. He hated the fear inside him, but he couldn't silence it. What if the fruit truly harmed him? What if one bite was the last thing he ever tasted? The air was tense. The crowd leaned forward, waiting. Leora's eyes stayed locked on his, burning like fire. And then, with a slow breath, she pulled the fruit back to her chest. "Very well," she said coldly. "The human refuses. Let all see it. Let all remember it." The words felt like a door closing. Ethan's chest ached. He wanted to scream, to explain again, but he knew it would not matter. They had already judged him. The crowd began to break apart, whispers trailing behind them like smoke. But the damage was done. The human was marked now. Ethan stood frozen, shame heavy in his stomach, as Leora turned her back to him. Her hair shimmered faintly, glowing like silver fire as she walked away. In her hands, the fruit still glowed, untouched, rejected. For the first time since leaving Earth, Ethan felt truly alone. The crowd slowly drifted away, but the weight of their whispers remained. Ethan stood frozen in the middle of the market, square, his chest heavy, his throat dry. He could still feel the judgment in their eyes, even after they turned their backs. He had refused the fruit. He had refused trust. But not everyone left. Leora still stood a short distance away, her back to him. The golden glow of the Aurelian Midia pulsed softly in her hands, like the steady beat of a heart. She did not move, though Ethan could see the tension in her shoulders. Finally, she turned, her golden eyes burning brighter than before. "Do you know what you did, human?" she asked. Her voice was not loud, but it carried the sharpness of a blade. Ethan swallowed hard. He wanted to explain again, but the words felt weak even before he spoke them. "I didn't mean to insult you, I was only careful." Leora tilted her head, her gaze narrowing. "Careful? You stand before me, offered the highest sign of trust my people know, and you call it careful to throw it back in my hands? Do you think your fear makes you noble?" Her words struck like arrows. Ethan felt heat rise in his face. "It's not fear, it's survival. On Earth, food can kill. Bright berries, beautiful plants, one taste and you die. We learned caution because we had to. My refusal wasn't pride. It was instinct." Leora stepped closer, her hair drifting, like silver smoke. "And what of us? Do you think we are fools? That we would offer poison to a guest? Do you believe your survival matters more than our honor?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "No, that's not what I—" But Leora did not let him finish. "You humans carry pride in your fear. You wear it like armor, pretending it makes you strong. But strength is not in refusing trust. Strength is in accepting it, even when you do not understand." Her words silenced him. He wanted to argue, to defend himself. But in his chest, the truth echoed. She was not entirely wrong. The air between them grew heavy. The market had quieted now, but a few aliens still lingered nearby, watching silently. Ethan felt like he stood in a courtroom, every eye judging him, every word weighed. His chest ached. His mind screamed to walk away, to escape this unbearable pressure. But something inside, something stubborn, kept him rooted. He took a slow breath. "Maybe humans are different," he said softly. "We survived not because we trusted everything, but because we questioned, because we tested. That is how we lived. That is why I am standing here now, speaking to you." For a moment, the anger in Leora's eyes softened. She studied him in silence, the fruit still glowing between her hands. Her voice, when it came, was quieter. "So you believe your way is the only way? That suspicion makes you stronger than us?" Ethan shook his head. "No, not stronger, just different." He paused, choosing his words with care. "We humans are fragile compared to many species. We don't have claws or scales or wings, but we have caution. We have stubbornness. And sometimes that is enough." Leora's eyes lingered on him, and for the first time Ethan thought he saw something more than anger in them. Curiosity. Perhaps even respect. But it lasted only a moment. She turned her gaze away, her voice sharp again. "Different or not, you refused. To my people, that is shame. You cannot change that with words. Her words cut deep, but Ethan did not flinch. Instead, he looked at the fruit again, glowing, like a star in her hands. It seemed so small, yet it carried the weight of an entire culture. A silence stretched between them. Neither spoke, neither moved. The clash was no longer just between a human and an alien girl. It was between two worlds, two ways of living. Finally, Ethan broke the silence, his voice low but steady. Then teach me. If I misunderstood, help me understand. I don't want to be your enemy. I only wanted to stay alive. Leora's eyes flickered, but she said nothing. Her silence was more powerful than any words. Ethan lowered his gaze, ashamed, yet still holding on to a spark of defiance. He would not apologize for being human. He would not apologize for survival, but he would not close the door to understanding either. As he stood there unsure what would happen next, the golden fruit pulsed again in Leora's hands. The glow lit her face, softening her sharp features. For a moment, Ethan thought he saw a choice forming in her eyes, a choice that could change everything. For a long moment, neither Ethan nor Leora spoke. The golden fruit glowed between her hands, its soft light reflecting in her golden eyes. The crowd had thinned, but a few curious aliens still lingered, whispering quietly, waiting to see what the human would do next. Ethan stood still, his throat tight, his chest heavy with shame. He hated that his refusal had brought insult. He hated that he looked weak. But he also hated that no one understood. To them, he was proud. To him, he was only cautious. Finally, he lifted his head and forced the words out. His voice trembled, but it carried enough strength to reach her. "Do you want to know why I refused?" he asked. Leora did not answer. She only tilted her head, her golden eyes narrowing. Ethan took her silence as permission to continue. "On Earth," he began slowly, "our world was never safe. Every forest, every desert, every ocean, danger, was everywhere. A single mistake could end a life. There were berries that looked sweet, but one bite could stop your heart. There were mushrooms that smelled safe, but they carried death inside them. Even water could hide sickness. My ancestors, they learned caution the hard way." He paused, remembering the lessons from his childhood, the warnings his grandmother whispered. Never eat what you don't know. Never drink from water you haven't tested. Ethan's eyes softened as he continued. "We humans are fragile. We have no claws, no armor, no wings. We are not the fastest, not the strongest, not the fiercest. But we survived because we learned, because we watched, because we feared. Yes, but that fear kept us alive. My refusal wasn't pride, it was the echo of thousands of years of survival." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Leora blinked, her lips parting slightly. The coldness in her eyes shifted, just a little. She looked down at the fruit in her hands, as if seeing it through new eyes. Ethan stepped closer, his voice, low but steady now. "When you offered me that fruit, I felt your trust, I did. But my instincts shouted louder. I saw danger where you saw friendship, not because I don't respect you, but because my kind has always lived with danger. My refusal was not rejection of you, it was protection of myself." The crowd stirred. Some of the aliens whispered again, but their tones were different this time. Less harsh, more curious. They were listening now, not judging. Leora's golden eyes locked on him. "So you are saying humans fear because they must?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Yes. Fear is our weapon. It taught us to make fire, to build shelters, to cook our food, to test everything before we trust it. Fear kept us alive long enough to leave our world and reach the stars. Without it, I would not be standing here today." For the first time since the fruit had been offered, silence did not feel like judgment. It felt like thought, reflection. Even Leora seemed caught in it, her brows furrowed, her grip on the glowing fruit loosening slightly. Ethan's chest ached, but he pressed on. You may see fear as weakness, but to us it is part of who we are. It does not mean we cannot trust. It just means trust takes time. Trust is earned, not taken in a single moment. Leora exhaled softly, a sound almost like a sigh. Her sharp expression softened, and for a brief second she looked less like an accuser, and more like a young girl trying to understand. She lifted the fruit higher, staring at its golden light. Among my people, to refuse this gift is shame. It means you deny our friendship, but if what you say is true, then perhaps your refusal was not pride. Perhaps it was only human. Ethan's shoulders eased, the weight in his chest lifting slightly. There was still tension, still distance, but now there was also a bridge. The nearby aliens seemed unsettled, unsure whether to be angry or moved, but none spoke against him now. Ethan met Leora's gaze. I don't want to disrespect you. I don't want to be seen as proud. I just want to live and to learn. If I made a mistake, then let me try again. Not by taking the fruit blindly, but by understanding what it truly means to you. Her golden eyes searched his face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. The clash between them had not vanished, but it had changed. It was no longer anger against caution. It was understanding, fighting against misunderstanding. For the first time, Ethan felt hope that this moment might not end in failure. The fruit still glowed, waiting. The question was not finished. The test was not over. But now, perhaps he had a chance. The air between them was heavy, full of unspoken words. Ethan's explanation had softened some of the anger, but the wound was not yet healed. The Aurelian Midia still glowed in Leora's hands, as if waiting for the final decision to be made. Leora studied him in silence, her golden eyes sharp yet searching. For the first time, her expression was not cold, it was thoughtful. The crowd around them was quieter now. No one shouted, no one mocked. They only watched, curious, holding their breath. Then slowly Leora lifted the fruit to her lips. Gasps echoed through the market. Her people never wasted an offering by eating it themselves. But Leora did not hesitate. She bit into the glowing fruit. Its skin broke with a soft sound, and golden juice sparkled on her lips. She chewed slowly, eyes still locked on Ethan. When she swallowed, she spoke clearly so all could hear. It is safe. It has always been safe. We share it not to harm, but to bind. I do not give poison to strangers, I give trust. Ethan's chest tightened. He had expected her to press him harder, to shame him further, but instead she had turned the test on herself. His fear whispered, what if it harms me, even if it doesn't harm her? But another thought pushed through louder. What if this is the moment? What if trust means stepping forward, not back? Leora took another small bite, then extended the glowing fruit toward him once more. Her voice was softer now, no longer sharp, but full of quiet challenge. Now, human, will you take what I offer? Not as an enemy, not as a test, but as a friend? The square was silent again. Ethan's heart raced in his chest. He stared at the fruit, golden light dancing across Leora's fingers. He could almost feel the warmth of it from where he stood. His instincts screamed warnings. Unknown biology. Risk of poison. Danger. But his heart whispered something else. This is not just food, this is the bridge. This is the choice. Ethan thought of his training, the rules, the endless warnings. He thought of his ancestors, who had survived Earth's dangers by saying no to the unknown. But then he thought of everything humanity had gained by daring, by risking, by stepping into the dark. Fire, flight, space. Each one had begun with fear, but ended with courage. His hand lifted slowly. His fingers trembled as they reached for the fruit. The crowd leaned forward, dozens of alien eyes glowing with anticipation. Leora held steady, her hand firm, her gaze never breaking from his. At last, Ethan's fingers brushed the smooth skin of the Aurelian Midia. It was warm, almost alive. He swallowed hard, his throat dry, and brought it close to his mouth. For a long second, he only stared. Fear wrapped tight around his chest, refusing to let go. He almost pulled back. Almost. But then he met Leora's eyes again. They were not cold now. They were filled with something he had not seen before: hope. Ethan closed his eyes and took a bite. The fruit broke softly between his teeth. Golden juice burst onto his tongue, sweet and sharp at the same time. For a moment, he expected pain, sickness, poison. But instead, warmth spread through his chest, gentle and bright. The taste was unlike anything he had ever known. It was not just flavor. It was memory. Images rushed through his mind. Alien skies filled with silver moons, rivers glowing with soft light, laughter of children whose voices rang like bells. He felt joy that was not his own, love that came from another world. The fruit carried more than taste, it carried feeling. Ethan gasped softly, tears stinging his eyes. He swallowed, his body trembling not with fear but with wonder. The market erupted in sound. Cheers, songs, the strange melodic voices of aliens lifted high. The human had taken the fruit. The human had accepted trust. Leora smiled for the first time since they had met. A true smile that softened her sharp features. She spoke softly, but her words carried. Now you see, it is not just food. It is who we are. Ethan's voice shook as he whispered, barely able to breathe. And now, I understand. The clash of cultures was not gone, but in that moment, it no longer mattered. One bite had bridged the distance. One choice had turned fear into connection. The golden fruit glowed faintly in his hand, its light fading slowly, as if it had given what it was meant to give. And for the first time since leaving Earth, Ethan did not feel alone. The golden fruit no longer felt like just food. In Ethan's eyes, it had become a symbol of trust, of survival, of two worlds trying to understand each other. Leora still held it in her hands, glowing softly like a living flame. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Leora did something unexpected. She raised the fruit to her own lips and bit into it. The crowd gasped, their voices rising in surprise. Golden juice shimmered on her lips as she chewed slowly, her expression calm, her eyes fixed on Ethan. After swallowing, she stepped closer and held out the remaining piece. Her voice was softer now, almost gentle. See? It is safe. It is sweet. I do not give poison to those I meet with honor. I do not lie. Ethan stared at her. His heart pounded, torn between caution and the spark of hope in her words. He saw no trick in her eyes, no cruelty. Only honesty. Only the desire to be understood. The crowd leaned in, their whispers now filled with curiosity instead of anger. All eyes watched the human waiting. Ethan slowly reached out his hand. His fingers trembled as they touched the warm, glowing fruit. For a moment, he hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, he brought it to his mouth and took a small bite. The taste exploded across his tongue. Sweet, yes, but not just sweet. There was warmth, like sunlight on skin. There was sharpness, like the first breath of winter air. Flavors shifted and flowed, carrying something deeper than taste. It carried feeling. Memories not his own filled him. Laughter of children under alien skies, songs sung beside glowing rivers, the warmth of families gathered together. The fruit carried not just flavor but culture. It carried life. Ethan's eyes widened, tears stinging unexpectedly. He swallowed, and for a moment he could not speak. His chest was too full of emotion, of connection. Finally, his voice came, soft and broken. Now I understand. It's not food. It's trust. It's your people's heart. The market grew silent. Even those who had doubted him now watched with awe. Leora's golden eyes softened. For the first time since their meeting, she smiled. Not the curious smile of before, not the sharp smile of challenge, but a true smile of acceptance. And you gave me something, human. she said quietly. You showed me the meaning of fear that protects and the courage to face it. You taught me what it means to be human. Ethan let out a shaky breath, a small laugh breaking through his tears. Then maybe we are not so different after all. The crowd erupted, not in anger, but in cheers, in the strange musical sounds of alien voices raised in approval. What had begun as tension now became celebration. Leora stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his arm. Perhaps your kind is strange, she said with warmth. But maybe strange is what the galaxy needs. Ethan smiled, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. In that single moment, the loneliness he had carried since leaving Earth seemed to fade. He was no longer just an outsider. He was part of something greater. The fruit had built a bridge where there had once been a wall. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Ethan and Leora stood side by side, the glow of the Aurelian Midia fading now that it had been shared. He knew this was only the beginning. There would be more tests, more misunderstandings, more clashes of culture. But now there was also trust, and trust was stronger than fear. Ethan looked once more at Leora, his voice quiet but steady. Thank you for not giving up on me. She smiled again, golden eyes shining. Thank you, for daring to try. The story ended not with refusal, not with shame, but with connection. A human and an alien girl, standing together, sharing something greater than words, a taste of trust, a taste of friendship, a taste of what the future could be. And somewhere in the silence that followed, Ethan whispered to himself, "This is why we came to the stars, not to conquer, not to escape, but to share." The glow of Aurelian Midia lingered in his memory, a reminder that even in a galaxy full of strangers, one taste, one choice, could change everything.